Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking every Agatha Christie book I read in 2023. I am a big Agatha Christie fan, and in 2023, I read 11 books by her as part of the Read Christie 2023 challenge. This is a challenge where basically you're supposed to read an Agatha Christie book every month based on that month's theme. I didn't participate in the month of January, so that's why I only read 11 books by her, not 12. In today's video, I'm going to go through all those books briefly and rank them from my least favorite to my favorite. I'll start with the least favorite just to end this video positively. After I do that, I will then show you how I would rank all of the Agatha Christie books that I have ever read. I made a video a few months ago where I ranked every book I'd read up until that point. So I will tell you where exactly the ones I've read since then would fit into the ranking. Let's just get started with number 11 on my list. So at number 11 on my list, I have Halloween Party. This is one of the Poirot mysteries, and it's from later in Agatha Christie's career. Unfortunately, I think this book lacked some of the spark from her earlier works. I think you can kind of tell that she wrote this when she was getting up there in age. It was not actively bad. I still gave it 3 stars, but it was definitely the most disappointing out of all of the books on this list. Poirot's good friend Ariadne Oliver, the mystery writer, is attending a Halloween party where one of the children dies. The girl, Joyce, is found dead shortly after claiming in front of several partygoers that she once witnessed a murder. Ariadne Oliver asks Poirot for his help finding out, was Joyce killed by someone who had committed a crime in the past? One thing about Agatha Christie's writing that I personally really enjoy is her cleverness and wit, which I just don't think shone through in this book as much as some of her earlier works. This book was just kind of odd with some of the things that happened, and I actually did try to solve this one, so I will link that video. On one hand, there was like a part of the mystery that was very obvious, and then there was also another part where like some of it kind of just came out of nowhere. I also think some of like the motives for murder in this just seemed odd to me and like just a weird, reason to kill someone. So while I didn't actively hate this one, it's definitely not one of my favorite Agatha Christie books. Now at number 10, I have They Do It With Mirrors. This is a Miss Marple book. I also tried to solve this one on my channel, and the reason I have it here at number 10 is because I think this is one of the most straightforward Agatha Christie books to solve, at least based out of the books that I've read by her so far. This is a Miss Marple book, like I said, and the basic premise is that Miss Marple goes to visit an old friend of hers named Carrie Louise. Carrie Louise and her husband currently run this home for, let's just call them wayward youths, boys who have gotten into trouble in the past, and a murder takes place at this school while Miss Marple is visiting. I think if you've read Agatha Christie before and you know her usual tricks, the whodunit in this book is very easy to solve, just a little too easy, that when I got to the end, I was kind of disappointed. Coming in at number 9, I have The Mystery of the Blue Train. This is a Poirot mystery, and I believe it was actually one of Agatha Christie's least favorites of her own books. She wrote this book around the time that she found out her first husband, Archie Christie, was cheating on her, and it was around the time that Agatha Christie famously disappeared. So suffice to say, she was going through a lot in her personal life at this time. Her mother had also recently died. And so her heart wasn't really in this book like it was in some of her other works when she was having a less tumultuous personal life. Because of that, I believe Agatha Christie went on the record saying she thinks The Mystery of the Blue Train is the worst book she ever wrote. Clearly, I don't think it's the worst. I don't have it ranked very highly, but it was not my least favorite out of all of these. This book surrounds the murder of heiress Ruth Kettering, who dies on the Blue Train en route to Nice, France. Poirot is another guest on the train, and so he becomes involved in the mystery of who killed Ruth and why. I think this book, again, wasn't bad, but just wasn't as much of a standout as other books I've read by Christie. I was also able to successfully guess whodunit in this book as well, though the reason I put this above They Do It With Mirrors is because I don't think the whodunit was quite so obvious, even though I was able to guess who the villain was. I did have to work for it a little bit more, and I think it was disguised slightly better than They Do It With Mirrors. That's what gave it the edge over that other book. Now, number 8 and number 7 kind of go together because they are ranked where they are for similar reasons. At number 8, I have The Underdog and Other Stories. This is a short story collection. All of the stories, I think, if I remember correctly, feature Poirot in them. The reason I have this at number 8 is I just didn't love it as much as the books that are above it on the list. I have said many times on my channel that I am not a huge mystery short story fan, just because one of the things that I love about mysteries is puzzling out whodunit and being surprised at the end. And in a short story, it's very hard to surprise me because it's short. There's not as much time for character building, misdirection, red herrings. So pretty much whenever I read a mystery short story, I get to the end of the story and I'm like, oh, that's whodunit. That tracks, and there's not that element of surprise that I really want in a mystery. So this collection was good. There were some stories in it that I quite enjoyed. It's just, not as good as the ones that are higher on the list. Not bad, but just not my favorite. Similarly, at number 7, I have Murder in the Mews and Other Stories. This is another Poirot short story collection, though I think the stories in this collection are slightly longer. They might technically be novellas, not short stories. And my feelings about Murder in the Mews is very similar to my feelings about The Underdog. I enjoyed these. They were good. They just didn't totally knock my socks off. That might be because, like I said, I'm not a huge mystery short story fan by and large, so there wasn't necessarily that wow factor that I was looking for. But it was a solid collection, and I enjoyed it. I don't regret reading it. I had a good time. Just, something had to be low on the list, Now, at number 6, I have Death Comes as the End. This is a standalone by Agatha Christie, and it is actually set in ancient Egypt. So it's very different from the other books that she wrote, and I've heard people cite this as one of the earliest examples of a historical mystery. I personally love historical mysteries because I love reading historical fiction, and I also love murder mysteries. So when you combine the twisty murder mystery plot with a great historical setting, I am just sold. What I liked about this book is how different it was. This follows a family in ancient Egypt. The father has come home with a much younger new wife, and his adult children do not react positively to this new marriage. Soon, one of the family members will be dead, and after that, they start dropping like flies. Who is killing them off and why? I really liked the concept of this, and I appreciate that Agatha Christie, tried something new. I enjoyed this overall, but I didn't find it super memorable. As I'm sitting here right now, I'm actually trying to remember who was it that was the killer in the end, and I'm having a hard time remembering. I think I remember who it was, but I'm really not sure. I don't really remember all of the characters' names, and granted, maybe part of the reason why I'm having a hard time remembering their names is because they all have ancient Egyptian names that are, not, not names that you're going to commonly hear in the 21st century, so it's a little harder to remember them. But I just think, while this was enjoyable, it was an enjoyable read, it wasn't as memorable as other Agatha Christie books. Now, at number 5, here in the top half of the list, I have The Pale Horse. This is another Agatha Christie standalone, though it does feature the character of Ariadne Oliver, so it does have connections to the Poirot books. And actually, that reminds me, an interesting thing about this book is it features Ariadne Oliver from the Poirot series, and it also features characters who appeared in a Miss Marple book. In fact, a Miss Marple book that you're soon going to see on this list. So that kind of confirms that Poirot and Marple seem to live in the same universe, which is pretty cool. This is a standalone novel that centers around several mysterious deaths connected to a pub called the Pale Horse. There are these 3 women living at the pub who claim to have supernatural powers. They claim that they can kill someone for you while being physically many miles away. Our main character, Mark Easterbrook, starts investigating the Pale Horse. Is it possible that these women actually have supernatural powers, or is something more realistic at play? And he's assisted by a woman named Ginger, and I really loved Ginger as a character, as well as the Mark-Ginger dynamic. They sort of fit the same archetype as, say, Tommy and Tuppence, though Tommy and Tuppence obviously are my favorites. I really love Agatha Christie books, or just mystery books in general, that deal with a sleuthing couple, just a man and a woman solving crimes together and possibly falling in love along the way. That's one of my personal guilty pleasure mystery tropes. I can't get enough of it. It's so good. I also don't remember all of the characters in this book super well, but I do believe I enjoyed the resolution to the mystery and how it played out. I don't remember all the details, but generally speaking, my feelings about this book are pretty positive. I think I gave it a 4-star. Now at number 4 on the list, I have The Moving Finger. This is another Miss Marple book, and I made a video where I tried to solve this one as well. This book takes place in the village of Limestock? I'm pronouncing it Limestock. I don't know if that's right. And residents of the town start receiving these, what should I call them? Letters accusing them of sexual transgressions. And one woman, what's her name? Mrs. Symington? Mrs. Symington dies after receiving one of these notes. Did she kill herself, or was she murdered? The character of Mrs. Dane Calthorpe from this book also appears in The Pale Horse, and I think I read these 2 in back-to-back months. So that was, pretty cool to unexpectedly see that character again in a totally unrelated book. I liked this one because while I did guess who the murderer was, I felt like it was still well done. I think the plot was clever, and when I got to the end, I wasn't mad that I figured it out. I was happy that I was able to figure it out, and I think there's a big difference between the two. I don't mind if I guess who done it, if I feel like I had to work for it and, use some of my brain power to get the resolution. It wasn't obvious, in my opinion, so that's why I still have this book fairly high on the list, despite guessing the reveal. Now at number 3, I have the book that I read the most recently, The Man in the Brown Suit. This is a standalone thriller that features the recurring character of Colonel Race. It is one of Agatha Christie's books that leans a little more thriller, action, adventure than mystery, but I had great fun with it. Our main character is a young woman named Anne Bedingfield. She has come to London in pursuit of adventure. One day, while she's at the tube station, she sees this man. The man looks in Anne's direction as if he sees something behind her, appears very surprised, then falls back onto the subway rails and is electrocuted, dying from electrocution. So it seems like an accident, but Anne is suspicious because a mysterious man in a brown suit comes and inspects the body. As the man in the brown suit is then leaving, Anne notices that he's dropped a piece of paper, and the piece of paper says 17122 Kill Morden Castle. So Anne starts thinking that there's something more sinister going on here. Who is this man in the brown suit? What does this note mean? How did he know this man who died? And so she goes on an adventure to figure out the truth. This was a really fun book, and I loved Anne as the main character. She is very courageous and plucky, sometimes to the point of being a bit reckless, but I enjoyed her as a character. This is an Agatha Christie archetype that I personally enjoy a lot. I love plucky female sleuths in my mystery books. The thing that I disliked about this book was the romantic subplot. I didn't care for that at all, and I feel like there were some comments that, let's just say, did not age well, so those are my biggest complaints with this book, but it was pretty fun, all in all. Now, at number 2, I have Evil Under the Sun. This is a Poirot mystery, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. This was actually a reread for me because I read this book when I was first getting into Agatha Christie. It might have been even before I was on booktube, I don't remember. And I really couldn't remember the plot, so I knew I wanted to reread this one because if I was gonna make an Agatha Christie ranking video, like, it would be very hard for me to rank a book I didn't remember. And what I really liked about this book is even though I'd read it before and some things kind of started coming back to me as I was reading, I was still surprised by some elements of the book. And I think that's a real achievement to surprise me with a book I already read before, you know? In this book, Poirot is going on vacation to a remote seaside resort in England. While he is there, of course, someone is going to turn up dead. One of the hotel guests, she is murdered. So Poirot is investigating her demise. This was just really well done, and I think the clues were so clever. One thing I really admire about Agatha Christie as a writer is how she is able to put these details in the book, and Poirot will say, oh, this is significant, and I, the reader, will be like, I don't understand the significance in this. Like, Poirot, please explain to me, like, why this is a clue. And then it all comes together in the end, and I just think she's so great at creating clues and building, you know, evidence in unique ways. So this was really well done, so well plotted. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And so, kind of surprisingly, my favorite Agatha Christie book that I read in 2023 was Partners in Crime, a short story collection. Remember how I said I don't like mystery short stories? Well, I loved Partners in Crime, and I gave it 5 stars. This is a Tommy and Tuppence book. Tommy and Tuppence have settled into married life, but Tuppence is longing for adventures again. The two of them solve several mysteries and crimes in this book, and for each case, the two of them decide they're going to channel a fictional detective. So for example, Sherlock Holmes or Father Brown, other detectives who were really popular in this period of British history, some of whom are still famous today and some aren't really widely read anymore. I love Tommy and Tuppence. I think they are so delightful. I find them very funny. I love their relationship. I can't get enough of Tommy and Tuppence. I wish there were many more Tommy and Tuppence books for me to read because they are such a delight. And really, the reason why this is number 1 is because I thoroughly enjoyed myself from start to finish. Like, maybe it wasn't perfect, but I was having fun, and that's really what reading is about, you know, enjoying yourself and having a good time. Reading should be a fun experience. I loved the characters, I laughed, I think it had that Christie wit and charm that I really enjoy, and I liked how all of the short stories were interconnected with this recurring element of Tommy and Tuppence channeling fictional sleuths. In fact, in one chapter, they even channel Poirot. So Poirot is a fictional character in the Tommy and Tuppence universe, which is pretty interesting. Though that is kind of a plot hole, because in The Secret Adversary, the first Tommy and Tuppence book, there is an Easter egg referencing Inspector Japp, the Scotland Yard inspector, from the Poirot mysteries. So how could Poirot be a fictional character, but Japp is real? Maybe there's a real Japp in the Tommy and Tuppence books who inspired the fictional Japp in the Poirot books that exist on Tommy and Tuppence's world? I don't know. So that is going to be my ranking of the 11 books I read for Read Christie 2023. Now I'm going to put up on the screen my current, as of this moment, ranking of every Agatha Christie book that I have read, and I will tell you where I will put the books that I read in the past few months. I will also link in the card the original video where I give, you know, a little more in-depth thoughts about my rankings of all of these books. So just to go over this really quickly, I would put Halloween Party at 26 out of 27. Not my favorite, though it wasn't actively bad like the big four. Then They Do It With Mirrors, 25, and The Mystery of the Blue Train, 24. I would put The Underdog and Other Stories at 21, with Murder in the Mews at 20. Death Comes as the End, I put at 17, though I'm a little iffy on that one. I feel like it could be lower. Like, I feel like Death Comes as the End and Sparkling Cyanide are kind of interchangeable. You know, I feel pretty similarly about them. The Pale Horse, I put at 15. Then The Moving Finger, I put at number 9. The Man in the Brown Suit, 7. Evil Under the Sun, 6. And Partners in Crime is just cracking the top 5. So that is my ranking of all 27 Agatha Christie books I have read as of January 1st, 2024. Of course, rankings are hard, and my feelings can change depending on the day. You know, sometimes as time goes by, some books stick with you more than others. So, like, obviously this ranking is not etched in stone. It's just for fun. So everyone, those are my rankings of every Agatha Christie book I read in 2023 for the Read Christie 2023 challenge. I had a lot of fun doing this challenge, though I'm not sure if I'm going to do Read Christie 2024, just because while I love Agatha Christie and I want to read all of her books, I think I might want to go a little slower and savor the books a little more, because obviously there's only a finite amount left for me to read. So I don't know, I might, you know, still end up doing the challenge, or maybe like kind of going halvesies on the challenge where I'll assign myself to read 6 Agatha Christie books instead of 12. I'm not sure yet. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if there is an Agatha Christie book you would like to see me read this year, do let me know in the comments section. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. It really does help my channel grow and reach more Agatha Christie fans. If you want to see more from me, please subscribe. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are also in the description if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.